Glynn County Board of Commissioners has applied for a Coastal Marshes Protection Act permit. The location of the proposed project is a tidally influenced stormwater drainage ditch on the west side of St. Simon's Island and upstream of an existing tide gate at the area commonly known as Gateway of St. Simon's on Glynn County, Georgia. The proposed project is under 1/10 of an acre and therefore may be considered a minor alteration of coastal marshlands. And the public notice of the Coastal Marshlands Protection Committee ran from July 19, 2018 to August 17, 2018. 4 comments were received in opposition to the project during the public notice period. Public comments and responses have been provided to the committee and summarized in the staff report. At this time, I'll turn this over to Ben Stewart, the agent.
Ben?
How about that? Can you hear me now? Okay, very good. So a little bit about what we're going to discuss, some details on the project this morning. We'll talk a little bit about scope. I'll give as much background and need as I can. I think there's some other slides toward the end of the presentation to give some background. And then a little bit on what we call execution, how we're going to execute the project, how we're going to construct what we're proposing. So this is a little bit on the scope. What you have in X is the culverts, locations of the culverts that we're proposing to clean out. The large arrow going south is the ditch that we're proposing to regrade. You can kind of see as we're going north, the north and south roadway there is Sea Island Road. The roadway going east and west is Demery. I'm sure many of us are very familiar with this, with the connector route there in between. So the tide gates that Jordan mentioned are just on the southern end of where the connector ramp is on. So a little bit on the background, just briefly. The connector road was completed back in 2010, and you can see some of the photographs there on the right-hand side. That's what the ditch previously looked like. And then we relocated the tide gates from Kings Way, which is not shown in the picture here, as you come on to St. Simon, up to their current location, as I mentioned, just south of where the connector ramp is now. And I show the image of where the tide gates are at this point. The project, though, is not impacting the tide gates. It's primarily the ditch between the connector ramp and Demery Road, as well as the culverts underneath the roadways in the area. So here's some of the basics of the need of why we need to do this project. We have seen a tremendous amount of flooding in this area of Sea Island Road, Hamilton Road, Demery Road. This is an image from Irma. You can see how the roadway completely is overtopped with water. And we've also seen flooding not just from Hurricane Irma, but other storms as well. Non-hurricane related events that experience a lot of flooding on the upstream side as you go north on Sea Island Road. And this project proposes to clean out these culverts and regrade the ditch to help with that capacity. So you see a picture here of the impacted culverts. The interesting thing to note about these pictures here, and it may be difficult to see on that bottom right-hand picture there, the top of that head wall, there's a concrete head wall. It's a flat head wall there where the survey pole is. It indicates that there's a 3-foot difference in the top of where the sediment is and the top of the head wall. Traditionally, and if it were cleaned out, you should be seeing somewhere in the scope of about 5.5 or 5 feet of difference. So that itself indicates that you're looking at a couple of feet, maybe 2 to 3 feet worth of sediment build up in the downstream side there where the culvert is. And this is just one location of where we have it. So this is a little bit on the project execution. How are we going to achieve the project? First, we're going to, in a couple areas that we have, we've got to clean out the culverts. What you have on the picture on the right-hand side, in the aerial image, are 3 circles there. Those are in areas that we've identified that we need to dredge and clean out in order to clean out the culverts. I can't clean out the culverts, our team cannot clean out the culverts unless the ends of the culverts are cleaned out first. So we're provide an area for the sediment to wash down and continue to clean out the culvert. What you have here, and I think it's also included in our application, it's just for demonstration purposes here. Though there are cross sections that we're providing of the ditch, and what we're really discussing here is fairly minor in terms of the amount of disturbance, the amount of sediment that we're removing. I think we've included some of those figures in the report and in the application. But you can kind of see as we get closer up to Demery Road, as you're going north, the more sediment that we're ideally removing, because that's where most of the impact has occurred. As you get further south toward the connector road, there's less sediment to remove up there. On the bottom screen here, the bottom image that you have on the slide, this is really what we call a profile view. This is looking from left to right. You've got the connector road with the culvert, with the box culvert underneath it, and then to the right, as you go to the right, you have the elevations of the existing ditch, and then the proposed elevation of the ditch that we're looking at grading. And it connects up to the culvert underneath Demery Road and goes to the other side where the circle is, on the other side of Demery Road. So with the work that we're proposing,
Ben,
I'm sorry.
That pointer may, I don't want to confuse you.
Nothing.
It may help. There you go.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I get excited sometimes about this stuff. So, as I was mentioning, this is the culvert underneath the connector road. This is the culvert on the road underneath Demery Road. You've got Demery Road here. And so, as I was mentioning, these are survey points that were surveyed back in 2015 when the survey was originally taken. And you see how much sediment, at least from an elevation perspective, is in that relative to the pipes. And so our proposed project is to regrade it back down to the original elevations of the pipes, and then clean out a little bit on the north end over here on north of Demery Road, just to provide another basin for sediment to continue, because it's going to continue to happen as it does for any natural ditch on the connector ramp here. So this is the area where the ditch was proposed, where we're proposing to regrade the ditch back down to the existing culvert elevations. This is area 2, where I mentioned here, just on the north side of Demery Road. And then this is Sea Island Road. I don't show a profile view there, as that we're not regrading the ditch anything beyond just the ends of the pipes. But we must clean out the ends of the pipes so that we provide an area for the sediment that's in the pipe right now to be flushed into and removed. And these are just some subsequent aerial images of where the project areas are. Okay?
Thank you, Ben. Jordan, if you'll go over the special conditions.
Should the committee determine the proposed project to be in the public interest, the department staff to the committee recommends the standard conditions and the following special conditions. 1, prior to any maintenance necessary to retain the elevation of the project area at native 1.23 feet, the permit team must coordinate with and provide a proposed project scope to the department for approval. Such plan shall be provided to the department a minimum of 30 business days prior to conducting any work. 2, should the vegetation to be removed within temporary impact areas in the marshlands and upland component not naturally revegetate within a year of the project completion, the permittee may be required to provide a restoration plan to the department for review and approval. 3, permittee may be required to provide a post-construction survey. Such survey shall comply with the Georgia Plat Act. Thank you.
Mr. Gardner?
Correct this, Works Director, what's the reach of the equipment?
Well, we call it extended reach excavator can reach quite a distance. So
Quite a distance would kind of equate to approximately how many feet? Does it exceed 100 feet? So going in, you can't reach.
good question. I mean, we probably need to measure
We
that.
did the engineering drawing, but we don't know how far it is from one culvert to the next.
If you look at the scale, that's
Well,
Oh.
I'd
No,
probably-
that's the scale then.
scale right here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
what's
right, I
the
think
scale
it's
say?
40 foot. What is that short one?
Oh, That's 40 and it's 80. So yeah, it's easily 100. It's
Maybe,
But going in, you're pretty sure you're not gonna need to remove any trees.
Correct.
I mean, I suppose where I'm going with this is removal of trees, the root system, you're removing dirt and sediment, and dirt and sediment comes from washing. You start removing trees and roots, then that allows for more sediment to get in there, which puts you back in here. Lastly, I'd like to ask, the frequency with which you think you may need to do this. This project was sort of completed, we've had a number of years between the time that it's completed and the number of times, the present,
Well, to this extent, we hope we don't have to do it again. I mean, we would think that we would just be, once we get it to that level, it would just be nothing more than a maintenance operation.
That's the maintenance of it.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was going.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this thing hasn't been cleaned since it was originally built, so. How long ago was that?
Ramp was built in 2010.
Yeah.
So,
So-
in 8 years or so, it's accumulated a lot.
I mean,
Yeah,
what-
that's gonna continue. And that's,
Okay, no, I'm just asking questions.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, further questions?
It appears the total area exceeds the tenth of an acre based on this one activity and includes other activities. This was advertised as a minor operation. That would indicate a flaw in the notice. And it was advertised as a minor operation. I'd ask legal counsel, is that in fact correct?
I think it's correct if it is in fact not a minor alteration area. So I don't know, I think we need to make sure that staff agrees with the committee's assessment that it's more than 1/10 of an acre.
Josh?
So the permanent impacts are less than 1/10 of an acre. So there are temporary impacts proposed, for which staff addresses in special condition number 2. And that condition being, should the vegetation removed within the temporary impact areas in the marshland and upland component incidental to staging of equipment in the actual dredging operation itself. Should those areas not naturally revegetate within a year, they'll be required to present a plan to us for restoration, vegetative restoration of those areas. So that's how the calculation of the less than 1/10 of an acre was accounted for, was permanent impacts.
This is also consistent with a project that was done a couple of years ago by Costin Bluff, where there was a calculation of what the temporary impacts would be to do the initial project, potential maintenance that may be required for that project, but the permanent impacts is what the seeking of the permit was for. Another way to maybe look at this too is that if there was not a need to actually do the dredging of the ditch, but to maintain the ditch, if they need to do temporary impacts to get to that ditch to do that type of work, staff would have handled that through a letter of permission because those activities would have been temporary in nature. That is consistent with how we dealt with other ditch projects in the county too. So that's maybe another way to look at that aspect of it.
So based on what staff just said, I think you've got to look at 12.5.282.9, which is a definition of minor alteration. And it says minor alteration means any change in the marshlands which taken singularly or in combination with other changes involve less than 0.10 acres. Minor alteration also includes renewal of permits previously issued by the committee. So it doesn't distinguish between temporary and permanent change. It just says changes. And I don't see in my annotated code any case law interpreting this statutory provision. So you look to the plain language of the state statute in the context, And I think you've got to take change as change. And based on that, I think the answer to Denise's question is yes, there's a defect in the public notice.
Further questions?
Next question.
Okay, Ms. Harris?
So the application with respect to, and this is a question for the applicant, and probably maybe a follow-up from staff. So the application explicitly would seek the removal of some area of jurisdictional vegetation, either within the JD or in the buffer area. And it's characterized as necessary, which could be a distinction without a difference. But my question is, Glynn County amenable to submitting a revegetation plan to CRD? And if so, how soon could you get such a plan together in the event you determine that removing vegetation is necessary? Because it strikes me that you know what work you need to do,
I do.
and you know
I do.
how to, and you know you're gonna have to
I
get
know,
to
I
it.
know the end product. I know what the end product needs to look like.
So it strikes me that the county is gonna know pretty soon what vegetation it needs to remove.
Correct.
So if you remove vegetation, I
But I-
think both from a stormwater standpoint and a marsh buffer standpoint, that it's reasonable to ask the county to affirmatively take some steps to mitigate that impact, or at least to replace the vegetation that's been removed out of necessity. Would you agree?
So at this point, we don't know exactly how much vegetation needs to be removed.
I understand.
And my understanding is that with the special conditions that we would work with the staff to reestablish anything that's necessary. If we need to reestablish something, we can work with staff to do that.
Would the county be open to submitting a revegetation plan, say, within 30 days after conclusion of the project?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's condition number 2. If it's required, they come out there and look at it and say, we need to do a revegetation plan, absolutely.
Thank you.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I make a amendment. I make a motion for
Okay.
amendment.
Let me see if there's any more questions for Mr. Harris. Hearing none, Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that special condition number 2 be amended to reflect, and we can specify the language in just a moment, but that it moves to reflect that the applicant be required to submit within 30 days of completion of the work under the project, a revegetation plan for any impacts to jurisdictional vegetation or vegetation within the buffer for staff's approval.
All right. Somebody help us put that in there.
Who wants to answer?
While staff
Working on that,
for the legal counsel.
I just want to address the statement that I made earlier regarding effective public notice and how effective public notice can be remedied. I mean, the project did go out on public notice. Obviously, we're having a public hearing. People have spoken regarding the project. I believe that you can cure the defect in the public notice by having the public hearing and having people, I mean, it's on the record that people have spoken against the project. So I believe, although I have not done extensive legal research on it, that the committee could still vote on this project. And if I'm wrong, and I do legal research and determine that you need to bring it back, re-public notice it, and consider it again in a committee meeting, I will provide written advice to that effect, and you could do that. If I'm right, and the hearing that we're having today corrects the defect in the public notice, I'll also provide you with a written opinion that says that, so that there's something in the record that reflects that although I identified that there was a defect in the public notice, that that defect was corrected with the hearing.
Okay, Mr. Harris, I'm gonna have, Carl read the motion.
So with the motion being the standard special conditions, with the amendment to special condition number 2, here's some language to consider. Should vegetation be removed within the temporary impact areas and marshlands of the upland component, the permittee shall be required to provide a restoration plan to the department for review and approval within 30 days after the conclusion of the project.
I think that accurately expresses the sentiment of my amendment.
Okay. We got that? You good? Okay. All right, you wanna restate your motion then, Mr. Harris?
I would, so I'm not sure about the posture of the motion. Specifically what I'd like to do is amend special condition number 2. But I don't know if an amendment is in order at this time.
Okay.
Without the question being called. I just don't know.
Okay. All right. I think we prepared your amendment
Thank you.
for at some point. The chair will entertain a motion to approve or not approve this project at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the project.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'm sorry, approve the project with special, standard and special conditions. As we had.
As amended.
With the amendment.
With the amendment. Is there a second?
I would second that.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Hopkins?
To understand legal counsel correctly, you will issue us an opinion in writing, one way or the other, in regards to this.
That's correct, and I will do it quickly because I understand that you're under a short timeline.
Okay, the motion is made, if we approve the motion, and the advice from council is that we need to go back and correct the situation, yeah, whatever, make it correct. How does our motion need to read, so that if something's approved, we can unapprove it?
I think there's
Good question.
I think there's a way, I mean, obviously, it comes down to if the permit approved it, the permit's approved that. I don't know if it's a good condition based on research by legal counsel.
Well, the other thing that we can do is take a break and let me go research the issue right now.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you, Mr. Garner.
oh, sir.
discussion? At this time, Peggy, are you ready? I'll turn it over to, our
During the break, I did some legal research. I also reviewed the public notice that was issued regarding this project. And I want to note clearly on the record that the public notice discusses each of the project areas at length and discusses the area that's impacted and the area that's involved in the work that's going to be done for each of those project areas. It's my determination, having looked at the Coastal Marshland Protection Act, the whole, all of the documents that are in the record that were prepared by staff, the application that was submitted, as I said, this public notice, and also the Administrative Procedure Act, that the public notice, even though it noticed this as a minor alteration, is not defective. So I'm changing the earlier opinion that I gave based on the recess and my having looked at the law. And it is my opinion that there's no problem with the committee voting on the project today. The public notice was sufficient. Obviously, we've had an adequate public hearing. We've had people who've had an opportunity to speak against the project and address the project. And I think everything is in order and it's fine for the committee to vote on the project today.
Mr. Chairman, based on council's remarks, my motion stands.
So we have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion?
For clarification, Mr. Chairman, is the motion to approve is with the
Motion
amendment
to approve with the
special condition
special,
two,
with the special condition amendments on special condition 2. Mr. Hodges?
I appreciate the clarification, that helps us.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, no further discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? One opposed. Project carries. As a member of the Jackson Island Authority, I'll recuse myself as chairman for the next project, and